He's a very good friend of mine. He's so funny. Please give him all of your love that you've given us so far tonight. Make it loud right now for Brandon Brickz.
Nice. Thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. I really do. Go ahead and give it up for me. Go ahead and give it up for me. Where my haters at? Where my haters at? All right. I just had to say that because, you know, I'm at work right now. So, you know, y'all my coworkers. So, like, if you don't laugh, guess who the haters are? You know what I mean? My name is Brandon. If you guys don't know, I'm from Los Angeles. And I want to say this. Never let anybody tell you who you are. You let them burn in hell. I like to tell people who I am. I'm an asshole. Most time when you tell people you an asshole, they're like, yeah, I can see it. You know what I mean? But any other time, people be like, I'm a good guy. People are like, well, we'll see. You know what I mean? My wife can't have kids. That's why we've been together for 10 years. We got a cat. Nobody gets divorced over a cat. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I just been wondering, like, why did my wife marry me, you know? And then I was like, it's crazy because she married me. Get this, because she loves me. How dumb is that? Because, like, I love her too, but, like, I got married because I didn't know how I was going to pay this rent. Dude, I needed a roommate. You feel me? I needed a roommate. Because when my wife met me, I didn't... my fucking debt was higher than my blood pressure. You know, anybody else? Anybody else have high debt? You know, if you guys live check by check, must be nice. Because when she met me, I live overdraft by overdraft, nigga. If she wanted to get a divorce, she gonna have to sell her wedding ring because I fucked up her credit. You know what I mean? I always think, like, if my wife would leave me, like, how easy would it be? It'd be super easy. All she gotta do is find a dude with a parking spot. You know what I mean? And it's like, it wasn't always like in the beginning of the relationship, everybody know about the honeymoon phase. That's the best part of the relationship. You know what I mean? I used to open doors for my wife. Now I'm like, you got hands? You know what I mean? And I'm a firm believer in being honest. Anybody else? Always be honest in your relationships. Always be fucking honest. My wife asked me, she's like, in the 10 years we've been together, she's like, have you ever cheated on me? So I told her the truth. Not today. Always be honest, man. Also, my wife is diabetic, man. Any diabetos up here? Where my dead diabetos at, man? And you think with a person with diabetes, she would watch what she eats, which she does. She's awesome at it. But every time I get Wingflats, she's always eating my motherfucking Wingflats. Wingflats are the best part of the chicken, dog. Like, they're the best part of the fucking chicken. Like, every time I get Wingflats, I turn into Denzel Washington off Training Day. Okay, I'ma put ranch on all y'all niggas. King Kong ain't got nothing on these Wingflats. I would never hit my wife, but sometimes I commit, you know, I flinch domestic violence. She's, motherfucker, you ever touch my goddamn Wingflats? I never touch it, though. But sometimes I get mad, and I think it's okay. You ever get mad and regret saying certain things? Like, she's diabetic. I'm like, man, diabetes ain't killed you yet. You know what I mean? I don't want diabetes to kill my wife. I just want her to lose a toe, so she trying to steal my chicken. She got to hobble over to the chicken like a hunchback of Notre Dame. My wife gets mad. She always gets mad when I mention something. She be like... And I'm like, you're not even ghetto for real. You know what I mean? You're from San Diego. You know what I mean? She says she eats my chicken because, get this, she likes making me mad. It turns her on. And I'm the asshole. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because it's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, there's protein in the Wingflats. How am I supposed to blow your back out when I don't have the strength? I don't have the strength to blow your back out. How am I supposed to give you the D? If Popeye doesn't eat spinach, he can't save olive oil. If I can't get Wingflats, I can't blow your motherfucking back out. So I had to drug her. Now, I didn't mean to drug her. It was kind of like she got caught in the crossfire. But basically, I bought some wings with medicated weed in it. Anybody else have that shit? Medicated? Y'all losers. Y'all don't like experimenting. But it's the best type of thing. I ate 2 pieces, went to go run errands, came back, she ate 5 pieces of chicken. Now, I know what you're thinking. Like, didn't she smell the marijuana? Nah, COVID took her sense of smell a long time ago. So that chicken gave her a memory to remember. She was like, Brandon! Brandon! What's wrong? And I'm in the corner trying not to laugh because she's high as fuck. She wants to go to the hospital. She was so high, she was trying to put her seatbelt on at the edge of the bed. You know what I mean? Brandon, take me to the hospital! Take me to the hospital! Wife is dope. She always be losing her phone. Women always be losing shit, you know what I mean? And I think it's just the Alzheimer's setting in, you know what I mean? And it's crazy because you would think like if you find something, women be like, thank you, I appreciate it. Nah. She was just like, one time I found her phone, she was just like, you probably had it the whole time, probably looking through it to see if other dudes was texting me. And I got mad because I didn't think about it. You ever like wish certain things would happen at the wrong time and it doesn't happen when it's supposed to? Basically, I was working at Pizza Hut, right? A part-time job, a nigga was doing bad, you know what I mean? A nigga was doing super bad, delivering pizzas and shit. So, you know, sometimes when your job calls you, you don't answer the phone because you just like, you trying to like, I'm not coming in today. Phone just kept vibrating. I ignored it. Now, meanwhile, I felt heat coming from my left side as my wife staring at me. She's like, who the fuck is that bitch, Brandon? And I was like, oh my God, she's checking my phone. Now, listen, the reason why this is significant is because my wife doesn't check my phone for side chicks, which is a problem. And most people be like, well, that's a good relationship, right? Hell no, I don't want nobody to trust me that much. Because if you don't check your man's phone for side chicks, man, I'm sorry, UGLY, you ain't got no alibi, you ugly. Yeah, you ugly. So that's why when she was like, who's that bitch? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, she thinks I have hoes. So she goes for the phone to answer it, and I'm just like, no! Because as soon as she answered it, she was like, oh, this is Pizza Hut. Now I gotta feel ugly for the rest of my life because my woman trusts me. This is fucked up, man. During the pandemic, my wife got fired. Anybody got fired during the pandemic? Yeah, most of y'all motherfuckers don't have jobs in here. But my wife got fired during the pandemic, and she wasn't mad that she got fired. She was mad because she got fired at the end of the pandemic, which she didn't get none of the unemployment money. That sucked. So I knew she was gonna come home crying and shit. You know, it was a big day. You know, it was bad, and I was like, "Fuck, I gotta talk to her." So like, she comes to the door. We have thin walls, so I hear her crying outside the door. So this is how God works. At the time, I was eating a styrofoam plate of Haagen-Dazs ice cream, because niggas don't like doing dishes. You know what I mean? And as soon as she opens the door, look at how genius I was. I took the plate of ice cream, smushed it in my face, and made eye contact with my wife, and she laughed. And then this is what she said. She was like, why did you do that? Now look how genius your boy is. I said, because I only want to see you smile. I was lying my ass off. Not only did I have to not talk to her, I played Call of Duty for 12 hours. I think all my problems started, because Because I mean, you know, I have a lot of problems in my life, and I think that I came to the conclusion recently that I needed a therapist, but I can't have a therapist because I'm black, because I ain't no motherfucking snitch. You know what I mean? I used to want to be a therapist. I think that's a dope job too, but I couldn't be a therapist because how much I hate white people. Because if I was a therapist, I'd probably go to jail for assisting suicide. You know what I mean? Because you know how annoying white people are? Can you imagine me being like a therapist with a white client? They're like, why can't I say the N-word? Why are black people getting these opportunities? I'd be like, didn't you want to talk about suicide? Let's delve into that. I got a lot of anger issues, man. Like, it's crazy. That's why I need therapy. But, you know, like, me and my wife was arguing about something one time, and she was like, bro, you need to smoke a blunt. I said, bitch, I already smoked 7. You know what I mean? I'm the only person I know can smoke 7 blunts and get road rage watching TV. Anybody else? It's crazy, bro. And it's like, I think the root of the problem for my anger is childhood trauma, dead-end jobs, and racism. I think those are the biggest things that affect me personally. And I hate it, though. I really do. And it's like, going through all this stuff, you know, I kind of like use it for humor to make light of it so I don't go crazy and fucking kill myself. You know what I mean? Don't laugh at suicide. It's only funny when people lie. Most of the time I complain about jobs is when you have a dead-end job. How many people had a low-end job that was fucking minimum wage? And you like, man, fuck this job. My fucking coworker's a piece of shit. My supervisor can suck my dick. You know what I mean? Also, I'm not signing that write-up. Who the fuck you think I am? Nigga, fire me so I can go home and get unemployment. Fuck this. I think most of the problems I had at jobs was also, too, because I've never worked for a black employer. I've always worked for white people. I've mainly worked for a lot of black people that kiss up to white people and try to get me fired. These black people don't give a fuck about being Employee of the Month, you know what I mean? All they care about is being coon of the century, you know what I mean? Also, it's like, I don't like complaining at jobs because I know my ancestors are looking down calling me a pussy, you know what I mean? Kunta Kinte is like, nigga, what you got to complain about? Nigga, motherfuckers don't like you, nigga. I lost a foot, nigga. Fat motherfucker, you gonna lose a foot for a whole nother reason, nigga. I don't know, it's crazy. And if you're a guy, don't ever hook up with chicks at the workplace. Never hook up with the chicks at the workplace. Besides that, don't even look at women, you know what I mean? They're fucking crazy. One time I was at a security job and this chick was wanted my position, I was supervisor, and she tried to get me fired, and she gonna tell HR I was looking at her ass. I was like, first off, you gotta have an ass, bitch. You gotta have a motherfucking ass. And then she gonna tell HR, and I'm like, when I went to HR, she's like, is this true, Brian? I'm like, first off, I got a lazy eye. You know what I mean? I wasn't even looking in her direction, you know? Plus, I'm gay, nigga. Because if you say you gay, they can't say prove it, nigga. What you want me to do? Suck a dick? That's not my, no, I'm sorry. I'm not gay, but sometimes I speak in a gay accent to make women feel comfortable. Anybody else? This tool comes in handy when you a real creep and you don't want nobody to know. You know what I mean? I was at the airport one day and I saw this beautiful woman. This woman was so beautiful, my lazy eye straightened up when I seen her. She had the most beautiful tattoo I've ever seen. She had a picture of a butterfly dripping in her titties. It looked like it was dripping in her titties because I was horny and I was looking at her. and she caught me looking at her and she was like, hey, and before she said anything, I was like, girl, you did that, girl. She's like, you really think so? I said, bitch, guys. I was like, can I touch it? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to touch this shit. Oh my God. I did this joke at a show in fucking Echo Park. Somebody's like, that's assault. I said, bitch, I got consent. It's wild, man. Honestly, I miss old school racism. I prefer white people to just say the N-word than ask me to say it. That shit's stupid. Like, don't ask me if you could be racist, nigga. What the fuck I look like? You know what I mean? One time I was smoking weed at work with a group of my coworkers. Some white dude pops up. Hey, Brandon, let me say the N-word, nigga. I think I earned it. I said, nigga, how you earn that? I was like, first off, we smoking weed. Why you want to ruin this time? You know what I mean? Because I told him, I said, listen, if you want to say the N-word, $500. $100 for each year of slavery and $100 for you asking that dumbass motherfucking question, nigga. Because it's not fair. The N-word is how black people get their power back. That's our word, nigga. You know what I mean? And it's funny because it's only 3 things that a white person could say that will make a black person happy to hear it. Those 3 things are, number 1, you're hired. Number 2, you're approved for this loan. 3, most importantly, I'm gonna let you go with a warning. If you a freak, fuck my wife. I'm a cuckold. Anyway, that's for you, dog. Oh man. Most of my problems started when I was born. I was born with asthma. I was a preemie. I was born with asthma and a lazy eye. Asthma, that's crazy. First day out the womb, I already couldn't breathe as a black man. You feel me? And my mom was there when I was born. She was there. She gave birth to me, and she smoked cigarettes the whole entire time in the house. Couldn't breathe. I had to try to hold my breath, because as a kid, I was terrified of catching cancer from secondhand smoke. My mom literally smoked pack after pack. I'm holding my breath, hitting this fucking cigarette smoke. I'm literally beating cancer and shit. You know what I mean? I'm beating that shit. And I'm holding my breath for long periods of time. Who knew holding my breath for long periods of time would make me an excellent pussy eater? You know what I mean? My mom would drink and drive. Anybody else got cool moms? Anybody else got cool moms? My mom would drink and drive my whole entire childhood. My childhood car was a white Subaru with tinted windows. The reason why we never got pulled over because the cops thought my mom was a white woman. You know what I mean? There was nobody with a Subaru in the hood. We never went camping, none of that shit, bro. The Subaru was fucked up too. It had the suspension was fucked up. It was like a fucked up lowrider. You had to use emergency brakes to stop the car and shit like this. The car, she would speed. She would go 100 miles an hour everywhere the fuck we went. And I rolled down the window to signal the cops, you know what I mean? I'm like, nigga, this is a prime time to pull us over. This is 2 niggas in the car. Nigga, help, nigga. You ever been so scared you wish you in a group home, nigga? You know what I mean? I got my hands up. The cop is looking at me like, oh, this nigga can't afford Disneyland. This is like the next best thing. You know? And it's like, I gotta give my mom a credit though, because my mom drove drunk for a long time, never hit not one tree, never got one accident. My mom is a better driver drunk than Paul Walker ever was. I'm just saying. Just like mama like son though, man. I'm a terrible driver too. I got road rage, man. Honestly, am I the only person that feel like COVID didn't kill enough motherfuckers? You know what I mean? Because I don't know about LA traffic, but it seemed way worse than it was before. Did COVID kill anybody, nigga? Was this really a pandemic, nigga? Because I'll be in traffic mad than a motherfucker. I'll be having quarters ready to throw at a Honda Civic or a Nissan Altima like a motherfucker. I swear to God, when I'm in traffic, I don't even have a soul. I'm atheist than a motherfucker, you know what I mean? One time I was in traffic, I had to cut this dude off to avoid an accident, you know, and I cut this dude off, and I felt really, really bad about it. I felt really bad, so I had to say I'm sorry to this motherfucker, but when I looked over there, he was like, you stupid nigger, nigger, nigger. This white dude called me a nigga 3 times and shit, but he had his window rolled down, but I recognize Jay-Z lyrics when I see him, you know what I mean? And you know what I'm saying? He was like, you stupid nigger, nigger, nigger. He called me a nigga 3 times like he was trying to wish me back to the hood, you know what I mean? And I wasn't mad that he called me a nigga 3 times. I was mad that he called me a nigga in a 1999 Ford Focus. Nigga, what? 1999 Ford Focus, nigga, you need to focus on your life, sir. You know what I mean? And most people, when they do cocaine, they do it like right in front of you or in the bathroom somewhere. This motherfucker was in traffic doing motherfucking cocaine. I was like, this nigga is wild. First off, you doing cocaine in the 1999 Ford Focus, nigga, pick a struggle, nigga. Pick a motherfucking struggle. This nigga was so high, I thought he was gonna bust through the bottom of the car and yabba dabba doo to his destination. I swear to God. I didn't know if y'all noticed, but I'm fat. I didn't know if y'all... I'm sweating like a motherfucking immigrant at the border right now, nigga. I'm fucking sweating. And I think my fat journey started when my mom told me I was conceived at a Burger King parking lot. I guess they want to have me their way. I don't know. All right. But, you know, it is what it is, man, you know. And I've been trying to exercise, but I got a lot of things that run in my family. You guys want to know what runs in my family? Nobody. That's why I'm fat. You feel me? Real talk, I've been trying to exercise in my neighborhood, but I live in a predominantly Mexican neighborhood. Now, let me tell you this. Mexicans are the most progressive people because they can eat 10 tacos, drink two packs of Modelo, and fucking exercise like nothing ever fucking happened. You know what I mean? And I got a trail by my house where I go hiking at, and it's predominantly Mexicans. I'm sorry, Latinx. You know what I mean? You cannot beat a Mexican hiking. I'm sorry, because I finally figured out what the X stands for. Latinx stands for X-Men, because these motherfuckers be hiking like they got superpowers and shit. Like they be crossing the border each and every motherfucking time. Because I'll be trying to jog in my neighborhood, but I can't because after 5, that's when the taco trucks come out. You know what I mean? Too much temptation. You know how hard it is to lose weight when every time you smell street tacos, your nipples get harder than trap music, nigga? You know how hard it is? And I got a problem with over-fetishizing food. I got a real big problem with sexualizing food, too. And it's crazy, because if you ever see me eat a cheeseburger, it's like I have my own OnlyFans, nigga. You know what I mean? I don't even take the burger out the wrapper. I just move the wrapper to the side. I don't even bite the burger. I just lick the motherfucker and shit until it squirts mayonnaise into my face and shit. I'm so fat, I can find the clitoris on a burger, nigga. That's how fat... That's just fucking insane, bro. But it's not all my fault. I feel like I have, my DNA's retarded. Anybody else got retarded DNA? Let me tell you, long story short, my father was a crackhead. Now, he was a very impressive crackhead because my dad was a fat crackhead. When was the last time you seen a fat fucking crackhead? My DNA's so fucked up, it can't even make my dad lose weight. So what the fuck is exercise gonna do for me, nigga? Like nothing. Also, we already know crack is way stronger than exercise. We know this. I wish exercise was strong as crack, but you ain't never seen nobody at Equinox, 24-hour fitness, Planet Fitness, scratching their chest, talking about, I ain't got no money, but if you let me ride that treadmill, I'll suck your dick. You ain't never seen that shit, bruh. Take me to a gym where niggas are sucking dick to exercise. I love being married, but I miss being single, man. Not because I'm unhappy, just because I miss being young, man. Being young is a wonderful thing. If you young, man, live it up, man, because that's the best time of your life to get all the STDs. You feel me? And I was really good at being single. But I had to settle down because I started losing my teeth. Anybody else started losing their teeth? You know, and you know. Also, I was just terrified of catching that Magic Johnson. Anybody else scared of catching that? That's some scary shit. But people were like, well, aren't you afraid of having a lot of kids? I was like, not really, because you can abandon kids. You can't abandon Magic Johnson, nigga. You can't abandon that shit. Also, being single has its downside, because a lot of times, a lot of women are unrealistic dating. I think you guys all can concur on that. You know, like a lot of times, women be broke, just as broke as men, but be like, what you bring to the table? But this bitch ain't even got a table in her apartment. You know what I mean? Also, it's like, man, unrealistic. You know, some women be thinking they look all good when they really don't. One time I met this chick, and she was a little chubby, and she had a lazy eye just like me, and she talking about, I'm not her type. I said, bitch, sis, we match, nigga. What are you talking about? We can stand back to back and fight crime together, bitch. What the fuck you talking about? You my sidekick, ho. What the fuck you? Also, I love hoes, man. I love hoes, man. I don't like a challenge, man. I love hoes. But let me ask you guys a question. Do you think, if you a hoe, do you think that a hoe is a person that gives it up on the first date? I don't think so. I think if a woman pays for the date, she's not a hoe. I think if she pays for the first date and gives you pussy, that's not a hoe, that's a hostess. You know what I mean? One of my favorite things about dating that I miss is the dating sites. Oh man, that shit was fun, bro. That was good. Because I used to love getting catfish. Anybody else love getting catfish? I used to love getting catfish because that was the easy way to get pussy. That was the easiest way. Because if you meet the chick and she's a woman, that's the first green light. That's dope, you know what I mean? Because then she's gonna feel so bad that she doesn't look like her picture, she's gonna suck your dick. She's gonna feel bad, you know? Because she's gonna be like, oh my God, I'm sorry I don't look like my picture. Do you still think I'm cute? Hell yeah, I still think you cute, you know? Because in my head, I can imagine you being any fine chick I want you to be. Young Mariah Carey, young Halle Berry, anybody like this. Plus, pussy ain't got no face, nigga. I can close my eyes. They don't got no eyebrows, no. You better laugh at that, because I know motherfuckers be fucking ugly motherfuckers in here. I see half of y'all bitch ass niggas. All y'all motherfuckers ain't fine. Another thing about dating sites that I like where you meet them on the dating site. Oh man, that's the best part about the dating sites, where you meet them. One time I met a chick at her father's house while her father was home. This bitch was a real thought for real. You know what I mean? I went in the house, she was like, that's my dad. I said, yo, dad, what the fuck, nigga? He like 5'5", I'm 6'3". Mind you, I'm 23, she's 23. Her father looked like he 50 years old. He didn't know what the fuck was going on, you know what I mean? He was so confused, he was like, how you doing, sir? I said, sir, nigga, I'm supposed to call you sir, you know what I mean? Then she's like, let's go upstairs. Upstairs to your father's house? I asked for permission. I said, can I go upstairs? He's like, I don't give a fuck. But this is how he let me know what kind of woman his daughter was. He was like, your name David? I said, no, it's Brandon. She's like, no, that's Brandon, Dad. I said, oh, okay, she a hoe. All right. So we go upstairs, right? I blink my eye, this bitch is already naked. She talking about, let's have sex before we go on a date. I said, this is your dad's house. Are you crazy? She's like, stop being a pussy. I said, okay, so I start fucking a pussy. You know what I mean? I was tearing that shit up, but I got scared because she was being loud. She was calling me daddy like loud as fuck. She called me daddy so loud, I thought this nigga was gonna come upstairs, open the door, and be like, nigga, you need a towel, nigga, you need a towel. One time I met this Kruger, I was about 21 years old, she was like 45, but she had a fat ass, so I had to smash. And I was in the house, it was a 2-bedroom apartment, she was living luxuriously in the hood, so I was tearing it up, right? But then in the midst of me tearing it up, I saw a shadow to my right, and I was like, okay, this don't look like it's a person, it could be a dog. So I asked her, I said, you got a dog? She's like, nah, that's probably my son. I said, son? I said, bitch, how you still have kids? The nigga popped in the room before I said anything, but luckily he didn't see anything because I had like a little blanket between us, and I was like, you want me to stop? She's like, nah. And I didn't because I know how to follow instructions. And this is how intuitive she was as a mom. She was like, as I'm hitting, she's like, you hungry? She's like, he's like, yeah. She's like, go in the living room, I'll fix you something to eat. I was like, this is a good mom. But then I had to think about it. I said, this nigga been hungry the whole fucking time. She want me to feed her dick before she feed her son. Nigga, that's crazy. That's crazy. And then the nigga started whispering something as he leave, and I'm like, what you saying, little nigga? Like, what you saying? And he was like, hey man, he's like, you need a towel? Hell yeah, I need a towel, nigga, let's go, nigga. This nigga already knew what was up. I think the pandemic taught me something. It taught me to really be there for the people close to you. How many audience people, like, how many of y'all got stupid friends? How many people got stupid friends? Yeah. So I had a friend during the pandemic, and she was having a hard time with her boyfriend. Her name is Tamika, and she's black, because it'd be funny if she was a white Tamika. But she's black, and I went over there a lot, and she was having a hard time, and she was trying to get a revenge body because she was trying to make her ex-boyfriend jealous because he broke her heart. Now, that would be cool in any other situation in the world. But Tamika's ex-boyfriend cheated on her with a man. I don't know how dumb this bitch was, but I don't know how you gonna make a nigga jealous who don't like pussy, you know what I mean? Y'all like the same pronouns. You like him and he likes him too, you know what I mean? And I knew the nigga was gay because I used to be over there a little bit. We used to play Call of Duty, and this nigga used to slap me on the ass when we win. I was like, nigga, this is not a game, nigga. This is not a game. And I was cool with like her just bettering herself anyway, but then she was trying to make her kids go vegan. I'm like, bitch, that is child abuse, you know what I mean? Your kids are gonna kill you in your sleep, because I'm thinking revenge is for the ex-boyfriend, not for the family, you know what I mean? And then she asked me the most dumbest question. She's like, do they make vegan dog food? I said, bitch, leave the dog alone. That dog eats meat just like Tamika's ex-boyfriend, you know what I mean? I met one of my favorite celebrities back in 2008. I wanted to mention this because this blew my mind. I'm a big Rush Hour fan. Anybody Rush Hour fans? Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. I met Jackie Chan in Santa Monica in 2008. dope experience. I was doing a security gig, I was wearing all black, and I happened to be smoking a cigar. This nigga gonna look at me and be like, Suge Knight! Suge Knight! I'm like, nigga, no! I said, nigga, no! It took me 15 minutes to tell Jackie I didn't kill Tupac, you know what I mean? I was like, Jackie, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Because sometimes racism is not black and white. Sometimes that shit's Asian, you know what I mean? Guys, follow me on Instagram at Diabetes the Second. If you guys haven't, that's my real Instagram, Diabetes the Second. I love Instagram, but sometimes Instagram don't have a lot of positive things. Like sometimes I want to practice body positivity, so I post videos of me dancing with my shirt off. First comic, not Magic Mike, Tragic Mike. Fuck this. My mama even comment, nigga, put a shirt on, nigga. Instagram is crazy. That's why I gotta tell you, be careful what you post on the Instagram, because sometimes people getting canceled left and right, man. And I got canceled, but it wasn't that bad. I just got canceled from a black church. It's not that bad, you know what I mean? Me and my wife used to go to this church a lot, and when we was trying to live right, and we were at the church, and they found out I was a comedian. They were like, do you want to do a gig? I said, hell yeah, nigga, I'm broke as fuck. I need some money. And they were like, yeah, we pay you whatever. Cut to 2 days later, they hit me up because they looked at my Instagram and they seen a picture with me with powdered sugar on my nose. Now, you guys see I'm fat as fuck. They thought it was cocaine. What in the who would think that a fat nigga of my magnitude would do cocaine? My heart can't take that shit. That's retarded. But they were really serious. The pastor called me over. He's like, hey man, we can't give you the gig because we're not supporters of cocaine. And they really thought, I could not convince them that this wasn't cocaine. And I got highly upset. I'm like, listen, you really think this is cocaine on my nose, but you couldn't tell me that your choir director's gay, nigga? What the fuck? I went off, nigga, because I was mad. I was like, nigga, every time I come to this church, motherfucker always asking me for money. You know what I'm saying? They sent me email talking about Cash App God. I said, God damn, nigga. I was like, every time I go to church, God is always asking me for money. He's almighty, all powerful, and apparently he's all broke. I think God got a gambling problem. You know what I mean? And they be like, oh, you want to save people by drowning them in water. Oh, okay. All right. I know a wet t-shirt contest when I see one, you know? Thank you guys. I've been Brandon Brickz. Thank you guys for my space. Appreciate y'all. Really do. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you guys very much. Thank you. So I was working a part-time job at, hello? Oh shit. Talk amongst yourselves. There we go.